Hello all, welcome to another session of mock interviews with Authentication. So I'm a technical architect in INC. I'm 18X certified. I'm active in Salesforce events. This is my LinkedIn URL. Feel free to connect with me and follow me on LinkedIn. To be updated on the future sessions, you can join the WhatsApp group. It's the QR code for that and the URL. And if suppose you want to have a one-to-one session with me, you can book the session on Talkmate. So you can feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share the videos that are available in Authentication on the YouTube channel, the URL of the YouTube channel, and this is the QR code for that. So there are various things that are covered on the YouTube channel, like there are some technical sessions, there are a few mock interviews as well. So which of those, like whichever you like, you can watch those. So thanks to one of our participants in the group, like they have shared some experience, interview experience of what questions they faced as a 3 years experience, technical consultant at Salesforce. So we'll be discussing the questions around that. So we had already taken one session, and this is like the second part of that. So we are getting started with this. So the first question that was made, that is comes into the second part is what is async await and where we are used it. See, async await is actually our regular promises only, but the difference is it makes it look easy. Basically, what happens is in our regular ways, like which we write the code, like we use the dot then promises. It is like too much. The length of the code increases drastically. So now with async and await, what basically we do is we tell him means we tell the code like until this thing is fulfilled, you can't go to the next line. It is like a traffic signal. Like unless the light is green, you won't be able to take your vehicle and move forward. So it is like async await. So here what happens is like we the means in the code if we, I have also taken an example of a code. So like our regular connected callback we have to means if we are using async, we want to use await, we have to mark this as async, and then here we have to use the method await. Like here I'm calling it this entire function until this executed, this line would not get executed. By default, JavaScript is asynchronous. Asynchronous means you can't really predict which order the things would execute. But we want like few things to be happening only in a certain order. Like suppose if it prints the data or I call another function which is dependent upon the first, then it can cause various problems for us. So we use this in this scenario. This is like the fetch method. Fetch method is the method JavaScript method to do the API calling. Now, what are the use cases like? Why do we do that? Normally, the thing is, as I mentioned, on the readability. Like, if I don't use a sync await, I will have to write under dot. Then again inside that, I have to call the another method, and inside that again inside that inner promise, I have to again write dot. Then so it will become too much difficult for me to understand and control the sequence. But if I have dot, then I can easily control. Like I can just mention like have different methods, and I have can have just like one word await. So it will wait until the previous one gets executed. Error handling also becomes easy, and maintainability like complex promise chaining also we can avoid. So these are the most obvious use cases that we use sync await. For one single function, you might not find it valuable like this, but when you will have multiple methods, like we have an example of 1 minute. Let me just uh, for earlier who were not able to see the slide. So this was the slide. This were the things that we talked of. This is the component, very basic example, like we are making this entire function calling to wait until and then only we allow this controller block to get executed. These use cases like readability, maintainability, and error handling. So this is a practical example. Like, see, like suppose you have a method where you have like where you get account means you have the account means you need to get all the accounts, and based on those accounts you have to get those individual account, you have to get the contacts, and from those contacts you have to get the cases. So these have to be followed in a certain particular order. If suppose your case get cases where contact ID gets called first, then you will get an incorrect response. You might get error. So to overcome that, like first thing that we did is we called means we asked this method to not take this line, this dot accounts equal to await promise dot all. This line would execute only when this get accounts would get executed. It will not execute. It will stay idle until that duration. Once we get the account details, then what we can do is like it will first call the get contacts by account ID. And once we get the contact ID, contact, then we'll call the methods of getting get cases by contact ID. So everything it's like chaining all of it, but still it's not that much complex, like which would have been if I had not used the await keyword. Any questions on this so far?
Ankit, I just want to ask one thing. Like, what I mean async await means like whenever we need to.
Async means asynchronous, like that the response will not be available in real time.
Okay, like what I mean, like when we use this keyword async await in LWC, that means whenever we need to make that particular code as to run in asynchronous context.
Yes, you want to have a asynchronous method, but still you want to maintain the sequence inside that. Like suppose this would not get, you will not get the response. You know it would take some time, so you will let it execute in the back, and you won't be blocking user during their duration. But inside this entire method, when it is getting called, I want like it should follow particular order.
Okay. And that await means like whenever we get the response from that apex method or some other, see, that
Until this will get called, means until you get the response from this, it won't move forward. It is like traffic light. Like until it becomes green, you can't move forward.
okay, got it. Thank you.
Just had one doubt. I mean, with this async await only, we can. I mean, what is the need of promised at all? I mean, because with the async await, we can hold the execution for a method, right? And then wait for
Uh,
this to finish, and then call the separate method with await, right? So,
See
is
what
it promised at all?
promise dot
Hmm.
all is basically used when we have multiple promises, and once all
Right.
of them are fulfilled, then only the next thing gets returned.
So can't we chain async await inside of it? I mean, similarly, instead of using
It is
promised at all, because
already it is changed.
right.
By
I
means
mean,
what happens with async means async wait is this block will execute first, then only this would happen. Like let me give you an example. Suppose you have a car, like you are driving on a road. In front of your car there is a big truck. After that there is another car, and then you have your own car. So when the signal is green, first thing that truck will move first. After the truck is moved, then only the second car can move.
right.
So, so for maintaining this sequence, like once all the cars are moved, then the scooter that is behind your car will be able to move. So until all of those are done, then
Mhm.
only means I want the control means it to should return me the value. Like see, if I don't write promise dot all, what would happen? This method would first one would get executed, second one would start executing. It won't wait for the first one to get completed and then start its execution.
Right, right. Okay,
So I
makes
have to
sense.
maintain. So I have to maintain the sequence here.
Mhm. Sure, thanks.
It's actually, it means this, I mean, it could, that means I agree to what means, what direction it is going, like, I could have simplified, like, avoid using promise.all in this one for the sake of simplicity. But I thought,
Right.
like, yeah, but actually, to be fair, like, this is actually another interview question that many people ask in
Mhm.
the interview, promise.all and promise.race.
Right, right. See, I was also asked this thing, right? I mean, this callback hell. How can we, what is it, and how can we prevent it, right? And then I told this promise.all or array, so we can, or chain promises with dot then, right? So
Yeah, this is like it's like promise callback hell is actually deadlock. Like once you're calling it's like as a joke, like what I have seen on the social media. A person takes loan to get education. From education, he is expected to get job. For job, again, he needs money. For money, like again, he thought like for earning money, he will get education, and this cycle
mhm.
continues. So it's as a joke it was mentioned, but it's like nesting is happening. Like one resource, whatever the one person needs, other is person also needs the same. Like what I can say, not able to get a real-time scenario around this, but it's like
Mhm.
resource. One resource is dependent to like you want one resource, but the other person also needs the same from you. So and it becomes like both are in becomes in such situation like none of them can progress.
Right.
So
Ankit, the best part is like when you explained with some example, that is very interesting to remember the things.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. So this is the promise dot means it's like a sync await. And the next question comes in: what is disconnect callback and why do we need them? Disconnected callback, normally in the code so far you would not have seen this one. But ideally what happens is uh, when you in the connected callback to initiate too many variables, you add the listener like DOM element dot add event listener. You mentioned like click or on key down, whatever events you have to add a observer. Means in pure JavaScript, it's called observer. It's like event listeners you may make. So what happens as a part of that is all your like at the browser side, it starts tracking all of it and consumes CPU resources. But like once your job is done, once that element is removed from the DOM, you no longer need it. So what we normally advise, like a disconnected callback, what you need to do is like you need to clean that whatever things you don't need. Uh, it's like going to a hotel. You enjoy whatever you want, you do that, and then after leaving, you should not leave the things dirty. You should clean that. So then, what these things like whatever we do the cleaning, this will happen should happens in the disconnected callback. The practical use case that you will feel in your projects is around when you are implementing LMS, Lightning Message Service, like where we do the subscription and which consumes a lot of resources from the browser side. So that is a more relevant example. But again, like you, it's like you can remove the caches, you can remove the event listeners. What are things that you want to do the cleanup? You do those activities in the disconnected callback. And if someone asks you the scenario like where you have implemented, we can talk about the means. I would suggest talking about the LMS scenario. That will be the more practical aspect of that. Since it's like practically like everybody meets whoever has used LMS, they know around how the LMS works. Like we do the subscription and the connected callback itself, and then we do the publishing. So whenever it's not needed, like we just unsubscribe it. Even in your VS Code, like it would throw you the means if you have added the extension, it would give you a warning like it's like you clean up the use the unsubscribe method as well. So that means if they ask you in the interview talk about LMS related scenario, that would be much better to explain. Other than that, like you can talk about like what are things that need to be cleaned up. You do those activities in a disconnected callback. Any questions so far?
Ankit, I just want to ask one thing, not from this one, that async and await. Can we use that example whenever we are doing some call out and some multiple data insertion and CUD operation basically in the backend, along with the call out? In that case, we can use this async and await if it is used in LWC.
1 minute. You are doing a call out and you are doing a TML operation.
Yeah, right.
I would say like both can go like async await. Yes, you would mean both can run parallelly as well.
Okay.
Again, it depends on like what parameters you're passing in the call out. If you're using that data, then you will have to adjust the sequence accordingly.
Okay.
Means, see, the idea is simple. You want like one thing to be complete, then only you move forward.
Got it. Yeah, basically I want to first do the DML and then after that I want to do some call out.
Actually, related to this, whatever you said, that there's actually a workaround that Salesforce has just provided in the latest updates. Release save point. There's a method that is available. Let me just open that. Release like
We are talking about the database dot save point.
release save point.
Okay, release save.
Email call out. This is a new enhancement related to I just recollect on top of my head, like since you mentioned about the callouts and DML. Quite interesting. Yeah. Okay. It was taking time, so again it will take some time. Yeah. Earlier you used to have like save points. You could unrolled uncommitted work is rolled back and save points are released. So you can do this activity right now. Earlier this was not possible. Now you could release the save point and then do the table. Uh, 1 minute, let me just. Yeah. So allow callouts rollback. That
So
explains
this
in
is
link.
this is the workaround when we are getting the exception that uncommitted work pending.
Yes.
You have uncommitted work pending. Okay.
Yeah, this is the latest one. So
Okay. Thank you.
so again, like we'll just focus on the disconnected callback. Like everybody is clear. If
Yes, it is
I
clear.
mean, yeah, okay. I will just pause the recording for a minute. Forward. So after this one, like what are different integration patterns? So for the integration patterns, like you can just name it like the request and reply fire and forget, batch data synchronization, remote call, and this 6 months. So request and reply means in the real time you get ask the server to give the data in real time. Normally in your Apex controllers, you do that call out, and in your regular methods, not in the future method, but a regular method, you do the call out, that is, and get the response, that is the request and reply. Fire and forget is like you do that call out in the future method. Batch data synchronization, like you are sending data, large amount of data from Salesforce to external system. So you use batch class. Like this is one example of that. Next is remote call-in. Remote call-in means I don't know like when to call the method. So what I will do is like I will ask the external system. Like I give you the API, you hit the Salesforce. Obviously, there's like few things that have to be taken care inside when you're doing this. You need to have the connected app that needs to be configured and all of those things. Next is UI update based on data changes. It is like you're doing a payment on IRCTC. Like you do the payment and automatically the UI would update without the page refresh. So that is the UI update based on data changes. Next is data virtualization. Data virtualization is like you see the data, but it is not, the data doesn't reside here. The data is an external system and you are just getting a view of that. It is like a telescope. Like you see the faraway data from your place, but the data actually resides thousands of light years uh, across. So it's like that. We have a dedicated video on this integration patterns in our YouTube channel. So you can go watch that for more details with the better use cases.
On this data virtualization, I had one doubt. So let's say we are hitting an API, right? It takes a postal code and returns us all of the, I mean, geolocation related details, and you're showing it on the UI. So,
Correct.
but we're not saving it in the backend. But I mean, is it a data virtualization, or
Yeah, it is a data virtualization, but it means
at the same time it's I mean, request and reply, right?
request and reply. Like, see, virtualization means the data lies in request and reply. Like, virtualization comes into the request and reply. We try to save that data inside of Salesforce. Like, we are means getting that data means inside of Salesforce, and yeah, you're right.
Mhm.
Like, data
I mean, let's say
virtualization
we're
can.
authenticating a email, right? That's a request and reply kind of same scenario type, right?
Yeah, correct. Data virtualization, normally we take it into consideration like you have the mashups or you have like Salesforce Connect, where you are able to get the entire view of what is inside of external system inside of Salesforce itself.
Right.
Here we are not doing any save inside of Salesforce. What if any DML needs to happen, the actual data would get updated. We are not getting any data updated inside of Salesforce.
Mm-hmm.
So, any other questions on this? Going forward. The next question that was, yeah, by Apex, we need to print, this is the input. Like, see, for a particular person, their title is mentioned. And now we need to just, in the end, what we need to do is, need to just show those users which don't means, of which only they are the only individuals. Which means, suppose like here, like John is a manager. For manager, we also have Palak as a manager. For Ravi, like he's a technical architect. Kathleen is also technical architect. Richard is a developer. So is Senthil. But only from HR department and VP, we only have Arpita and Ram. So that needs to be shown as the output. For doing this activity, you can create a map of string, comma, string, like in the string, comma, list of string. That is your title would remain the key, and what are the names of person you have that would take as the value. And then you can apply some for loops and then show this information. It mostly focuses around duplication, so it's quite easy to do this. Are you able to visualize this code? Whatever I'm saying here, it's a string comma list of string. From one man title, there could be can be multiple people. Please respond.
And this can also be a class-based solution, right? I mean, can have
You can have like a method and like Yeah, you can create a method saying by like showing means show unique what do you call show unique departments, something of that sort. You can name the method, and then these water records that are there, and you can get that input in kind of a custom object for demonstration purposes. They would be actually concerned about like how would the logic run. Like they are actually checking your logical ability. Like, are you able to visualize the maps, or how that what data structure are you visualizing? What are you thinking in the back end? Another interpretation of this could be like instead of the username, they might be thinking like having that entire user instance instead of Salesforce. And this would be the role field. So then you'll have to do the query and do some more manipulation, but still the concept would remain the same. For one role ID, you could have multiple users, and then you will have to apply the loop and uh, get show only the unique ones, like from which role there's only one person. So this was around that. I assume the things are clear. Any questions so far? You can also use the chat, like if by chance you have anything and you're feeling shy. Yeah. The next is a pure JavaScript question. Event.prevent default and event.stop propagation. So I would say event.prevent default is like the name itself suggests prevent default. Means whatever is happening by default, we want to avoid that. So we use this one when you want to stop something. Like suppose I had a requirement in one of the LW stop means earlier, like I was using full calendar JavaScript. And that for few scenarios, I wanted like whenever they click an event, nothing should happen. It should not be clickable. So there I use this event.prevent default. So the default button, default action of clicking would make it invoke the and open the URL. So I wanted to stop that. So I use this method in that scenario. Or you can also use this in the scenario where you're doing some kind of validation. Like unless the user, if the suppose user does not input the right data and clicks on submit. So instead of type button, if you have to type submit, then you will have to use event.prevent default in that scenario. Uh, are the things clear? Are you guys able to follow?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Then we'll talk about stop event.stop propagation. See, event.stop propagation, we rarely get a scenario of doing that. Like I have not faced a scenario, but it mostly comes around like when you want to means you have a parent and child component, and the parent's method is getting called unnecessary. So in such scenario, normally we go with event.stop propagation. We stop the event from propagating into child ones. Like suppose any danger, or I would say any danger comes to you or your family, the first thing that it hits would be your parents. Your parents stop propagating that problem or that danger to you. So they are kind of doing this event of stop propagation. Like nothing would happen to my children. Whatever would happen, like I will absorb
Can I
everything.
think?
आप पियोगे?
पी लेता
Uh,
तो है
पूरा
आगे में
so it's like that kind of a scenario. means you are stopping it or protecting the inner elements, like passing those method means those events to move forward. So it's around that event dot stop propagation. I hope the things are clear.
बाद में select जो होती है,
Uh,
वो तो
uh,
एक
yeah, I would say, I would request like whenever if you have anything, then you can unmute. If you have anything to means ask, you can ask that. But be cautious of the background noise that might be coming in. So once you are in like situation like where there's no background noise, you can ask your question. Needed if you had any question, then you can ask that. Anybody has any questions? Feel free to ask. This is the last one. Like, what are different types of authentication mechanism we have in Salesforce? So before moving forward with this, I would like to say like each one means I visited various sites for this one. Everybody has their own version of this. The images used here in this slides are does not belong to me. Those are the credit goes to the original creators. So here also I mentioned it very clearly, and this is just for illustration purposes. I know there are typographical errors in this one, but visually it's like something the users would be able to understand. So I put in this image. So the first basic authentication mechanism is your username password. Like you just enter those details and you become authenticated. It is like if we talk about like auth flows, like it comes under username password auth flow. Second is API key authentication. Like see for few APIs, like I've observed, like you can generate the API keys and then use it in the request. Or obviously there's not straightforward, like there's a long procedure like where to use this one, like you can use them with the name credentials as well. But this is one way API key authentication. The next is OAuth or open authentication, like where we use login as, or we have the different auth flows, like we have the web server flow, JWT token flow, you have the uh, user agent flow, you have the asset token flow, where there are various things like authentication server, resource server. So it's like on behalf of somebody else, you're allowing the application to do those actions. They give them the scope, like this is the level of things that you can control, less things you can't do. So that way it works. So this is what I had for this session today. So